Welcome to Oh Brother, a podcast of three brothers trying to figure it all out, with your hosts, Brandon, Colin, and Aaron. On this week's show, varying states of bad. I'm not sure how long my computer has been playing lo-fi hip-hop in the background, but I'm guessing for many, many hours.
I mean, you say that like it's a bad thing.
Well,
okay, and I'm here to tell you that that is not true at all, right? It's great. It's exactly what you need, right?
It's very nice.
Definitely one of the things in rotation for classroom music, right? It's fine. So,
yes. Well, I just was unexpected. It was playing unexpectedly in my headphones when I put them on. That's all.
It is a bit of a problem with the like streaming version, right? Like either the live YouTube thing or just like the Spotify deal, because it's just like infinite.
Oh, I know.
Right?
Yeah, that YouTube channel, Lo-Fi Girl.
Yeah,
it's literally never ending.
Which is excellent.
It's very nice. It's very nice. When I'm writing, I'll put it through my computer speakers, and the kids will sit in the office with me, and they'll just be sitting and listening, and we're all jamming out to some lo-fi hip hop. So there's your recommended.
Yeah,
lo-fi.
Yeah, it's all good. Sometimes I turn on in the classroom when we're doing like group work stuff. Not if we're like reading, obviously, because that's not everybody likes to have sound when they're reading. It's distracting, right? But
yeah,
either that or like 80s like synthwave stuff or like vaporwave stuff. That's good background music too.
Yeah.
Or if you're playing Silent Ball at recess, Sonic 2 soundtrack, highly recommend.
Oddly specific.
Hey, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
It's fine. Oh, yeah. I was. I don't know. Are you a? I mean, obviously you are if you're doing the lo-fi hip hop to stuff, but you're a music while you work kind of person in some aspects.
It depends on what I'm doing, right? Like sometimes, yeah. If it's relatively like menial, yes. But if it's something on which I must like concentrate a lot, no.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will concentrate and get distracted by the music. And so like if I do it in my class, like sometimes I turn on in my class when I'm like grading stuff, like whatever. And but I only turn on like really low. Like I'm talking like barely audible, just enough that there's like a noise, right? I keep the volume when I do stuff like that. I keep the volume like way down. And if I'm doing like big things, like if I'm like reorganizing my closet, then I just crank it all the way up, and it doesn't matter, right? But so it sort of depends on the concentration level, right? That's why for group work, I'll just turn on the background of the class like quiet, so like it's kind of there. But I find that like if there's like some like small amount of noise, like the kids don't get as loud all the time, right?
Oh,
just
interesting.
They're like aware that there's like something going on, so they'll kind of like talk and they'll kind of listen and stuff. But like it doesn't all. So some group, it depends. Like some people just are oblivious, but like sometimes it helps to keep the noise level down. But again, if we're doing like a reading project, I don't turn any music on because it gets distracting, right? You're trying to like read and like there's stuff there, so I don't do that.
Yeah. I think it depends on kind of music too. I've found that a lot of the music written for like video games is really excellent for having on in the background such that it won't be distracting because it's
have
not.
Have you listened to like those like ambient like Skyrim music things or whatever like that? That'll be like the video game music from Skyrim, but like mixed with stuff, and they'll just play that on loops. That's really good too.
Yeah, well, because
recommend that.
that's there to take up time, and there's not like in Skyrim and those big open world players, like you could just walk around endlessly.
Yes.
So that music kind of needs to
Yes, you
stretch
can.
stretch it a bit.
Yeah, it's like there to fill space, so it's really good for that. So yeah, some of those are really good. I do that too. I play some of those sometimes, depending on the day, right? I just now my work YouTube feed is just full of those, like my recommended page, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like full of that stuff. So it's just like, let's listen to this, or let's listen to this, or what about this? And so I just click on a bunch of that random stuff. That's very nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Have I told you about the other YouTube channel, music channel that I listen to sometimes?
No.
Have we talked about this before? I think this was on my list of things to bring up at some point.
Okay.
It never came up. So here it is. Have I talked to you about My Analog Journal?
No.
Bro. Okay, listen. This dude's YouTube channel, it's like live DJ mixes where apparently he'll just like be in his house or like guest DJs. It's all vinyl stuff. And they play crazy mixes. Like one set will just be like Japanese city pop. Right.
Ooh.
Or one will be like Turkish funk.
Wild.
Or yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, I'm looking at Afro-Cuban funky grooves.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
My.
Right, there is some amazing stuff on there. The mixes and stuff, and some of the random. Like, first of all, I have no idea where people go about finding this kind of record. I think the dude is based in London, maybe, and then like his friends or guest people are from all over, and they just do these mixes. And like, yeah, Afro-Cuban records from South Africa, 1972 to 2001, right? Brazilian samba grooves, Asian grooves, like just they're amazing. So that I listen to that sometimes because the stuff on there it's just amazing. Like some of that music is so incredible. It's like random stuff that you've never heard before. So it's great.
Yeah,
and it's very visually pleasing because they have these overhead shots of the turntables with the big mixer in the middle. It's very aesthetically. The whole channel is very aesthetic, right? If you notice the thumbnails, like I don't know how all these people have so many plants in their apartment.
That was the thing I was going to. There's lots of plants everywhere.
Lots of plants everywhere. It's a little weird.
House plants, house party, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like it would make. So the weird part is, like, if it was just all in his apartment, it would make more sense, right? But a lot of these people are other people's apartments, and they also are just full of houseplants. So I don't know if eccentric vinyl record collecting and houseplants go together, or what the common denominator is here.
It's just a vibe.
I mean, yeah, vibes, music with vibes, and like an overabundance of houseplants. It could be a thing. As a person who has like 2 houseplants, and by I mean Susan, this is a very
yes.
This is an aesthetic with which I am not very familiar.
I understand.
So like, I inherited the houseplantness from like dad, where it's like, oh nope, can't deal with it.
I don't know. Like, he's got quite a few houseplants going on these days.
He has quite a few, but they're always either too wet or too dry. There's like never any.
Well, I don't know. He bought 5 spider plants because they were on sale, and he was like, I was told they were good for oxygen. So
yes, only our father would impulse buy greenery, right? Like that's apparently not. Maybe dad just needs to start streaming his record collection, and he'll just fit right in, right?
You know what? I think this is we'll bring this up to him over the holidays.
I'm sure that he would just love that so much. He would just be like, what?
Yes, be very happy.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, my analog journal. You should definitely check it out.
So this is one of those things of was this an algorithmic find? How did this matriculate itself 100%. Into your life?
It was one of those things where like it was definitely algorithmic, and like it was one of those where like I was listening to, because I like to listen to only instrumental music doing things like this.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I like. And so I look for that stuff. But the algorithm recommended this to me. And so a lot of the records are non-English. Right. And so that doesn't bother me. Right. So if they're singing in Turkish, I don't care. Right? Because I'm not distracted by it just becomes part of the rhythm.
Sure.
Because I don't understand it. Right. Or if they're singing in Japanese or Brazilian, Portuguese or something, like, then my brain does not latch on and try to understand what they're saying. Right. Because no matter what, if I'm listening to music in English and I hear words, my brain stops focusing on what I'm doing and tries to focus on what they're saying all the time. Sure. I can't stop it. So instrumental music or music that is not English is what I prefer to listen to when I am working, because I can just kind of get in the zone with the rhythm, and then that's all I need. Right. It's less distracting for me to have non-English stuff. So there is like English stuff on this and there obviously, and I listen to that like during different times, but where sometimes it's not so bad. But it was just like an algorithmic thing that popped up in my quest to find stuff like that to listen to while I work. So just to like have on in the classroom, because like during plan time, like if like today I was adding questions to my test, right? And so instead of sitting in the middle of the classroom in like dead silence, I was listening to like random 80s retro wave playlist, right?
Yeah.
Or
as one does.
Yeah, as one does, right. It was a very awesome, like, today was a little more, last few days have been like very overcast, right? So like very like post-rocky instrumental guitar stuff day is what that day was like. But I was like like very chill, like, so that's what we did today. But yeah, stuff like that. Sometimes I play that at work, my analog journal at work too, like during my working time, just because it's like different and interesting. And so it's also very important to play only instrumental music at work, especially if I've never heard it before, because right, you have to be very careful about what is being said.
Yeah.
So I also don't listen to a lot of Spanish language music at work, just because, right, I have a lot of students that speak Spanish, and if I'm not paying attention and they just like say something that's like very inappropriate, which could happen if it's like hip hop or something, like don't want to be like throwing that out there. So we gotta be calm with this.
Yeah. Well, and given how some things are, it's like, well, you just can't risk it.
Yes, that's true.
Oh,
which is good. Which is another reason why sometimes stoner rock still makes it into my playlist, because that instrumental stuff is just like blues riff with fuzz. So it's like fine, whatever.
It's all good. Speaking of the, we recently talked about where certain phrases make you think of certain things. It just happened. I said risk it.
For the biscuit.
No, yeah, risk it for a biscuit. Yeah, yep. It's almost every time that I say that word now.
Yes, it happened to me again the other day, and I was going to bring it up, but I forgot what it was that Susan said.
But anyway, back to the topic of I think that as much as damage algorithms can do for many particular reasons online and in social media, man, whoever's writing the YouTube music recommendations or even on like Spotify, those algorithms, and I guess that's because it's very not. I mean, music isn't really formulaic, but how things are categorized, and artists and how they're grouped, like that's a very easy and it's very small problem set as well. Of like, oh, you listen to this person, this other person is categorized in these same ways. You may like them. That is one of the really neat things about the interwebs that we get is those kind of good recommendations.
Yeah, that's true. Because like, did I know that I like Japanese funk music? No. But do I now? Absolutely. Right. This is like a thing.
As it turns out,
happens, or like there's several like really just random things that like I never would have heard ever. And like it brought it up, and then now it's great. If I can remember the name of this. I don't know. I won't be able to remember it. It's on my work computer. There's like some bands like that. They're just like some artists or something where it's like there's no way I would have found this normally, right? But because it just like showed up here and I was like, huh, what's that? And I clicked on it.
So yeah, that is quite good stuff.
This is what makes me angry about like the YouTube shorts and like TikTok things, right? Because it appears to have absolutely no just screening at all. It's just like completely random. The YouTube shorts specifically, because I don't do TikTok, right? But every once in a while I investigate the shorts just because I want to know what in the world's happening. And it helps me understand what the heck my kids are talking about half the time. But there's literally no rhyme or reason for what it's going to show you in a given day. Right?
Yeah.
Like it will just show you just one day, you'll just get like a whole bunch of like one thing. And then like a couple days later, it'll be like a whole bunch of something else. And it's like there's no reason. Like it's been showing me like everything from like hip hop interviews. I don't know. Men's fashion get ready with me's, which are they're terrible, by the way. That's a whole other thing. I don't know what's happening with that. Like someday it's like giant dudes working out. I mean, these are clearly not tailored for me because none of these things are what I want to look at. Like
no,
right? Like
right.
What? It's just like it's just really, really strange. Like, and I have no clue what it's doing or how it propagates this list of stuff to show you because it's just the most random stuff ever. And I'm sorry, men's get ready with me. I am not carrying a tote bag. This is not happening. I don't know what this is, but no, thank you. You can try to tell me tote bags are fashionable all you want. I don't care. Get it out of here.
Yeah, I'll go the messenger bag. I'll vote for that, but not a tote bag. Fine. Again, it's okay.
It's me being a grumpy old man now, since I'm old man now. But like, no, what are you doing? Also, why would you wear like oatmeal sweater and light tan pants? Why? No, you can't do monochromaticism. It's not cool.
Oh no, it's all the rage now. It's all the rage.
It's upsetting because I don't like it. I think it looks weird. So I don't understand why you would want to do that. Like wear taupe on taupe on taupe with brown. Like what? What are you doing?
It's really more of a commentary of our current social environment. and the representation of the monochrome. Anyway, no, it's.
I mean, it might be if you're like. I mean, in nowhere in any of these videos does it say the word Bauhaus or anything like that. So I'm not sure.
Well, I don't think they wouldn't. No,
it might. You never know.
Or not. Anyway. Yeah, that's interesting. I do like those those algorithms. They're good. They recommend very good YouTube videos for
the music ones are good.
Music ones are good. The YouTube ones, whenever you start venturing off to that, what do they say? Or how many steps away from finding Hitler or whatever it is these days? It's not. It's not.
Especially with Elon running Twitter, it's like one step. Boom, there it is.
Oh, look. He's just trying to figure it all out, man. That's all he's doing.
He's just it's what it is. Is it's an extremely hard pushback between society deciding they don't like racism and all the racist people being like, "What's not fair? That's not cool. Come on, guys. I thought we were all about free speech here." And then that's what happens. Like, that's what
it is.
Like, no. That's not how this works. Like, listen,
I'm going to say it is very annoying. For me, you just said the phrase free speech and how that has become such a dog whistle for various parties and affiliates.
It has.
And it does, where it's like, I have to, when somebody says the word free speech, my brain goes, I like free speech. And then I have to take that huge step back and go, but what do you mean by free speech?
Yeah, right.
What are you trying to communicate with that phrase? The other one that's really frustrating to me is when people start talking about the other word that's been co-opted in various aspects, and it means it's so layered with things now. It's just the simple word freedom. Right? There are groups of people that when they say the word freedom, they don't mean the same thing as the other group that says the word freedom. And so it's very easy to sit there and get your head nodding along going, yeah, no, I agree that. And then you take a second to look into the person speaking and you're like, no, never mind.
Yeah, this is where it gets real gray and like really gross and ridiculous. Like, I don't want to go into specifics here, but like,
it's okay.
Just like these very odd things about like, oh, well, why are you mad that I said this about you? But it's freedom. Like, no, stop. Like, you're like,
yeah.
When one side is saying, I have the freedom to be included, and the other side is saying, I have the freedom to not include you. Right. This is where the problem happens. Insert anything here. Right. Again, I like to say things like, imagine if I would like never speak to you again if you said that you liked ketchup on your hot dog. Right. This is the, here's your example, right? If you say, I like ketchup on my hot dog, and I say, I don't like ketchup on my hot dog. Right. Those two things are just, if they just exist, it's fine, whatever. But when one person starts telling the other one how they have to eat their hot dog, this is where it gets all wonky and strange. Because one group will say, like, I have the right to not eat ketchup. And the other group says, no, you have to eat ketchup. Like, no, what? No, wait. But what? What are we talking about?
Yeah. Well, so I don't know. It's very interesting to see and reflect on that. And I'm pretty apolitical most days in life, but I don't have a long history of being deeply involved or being aware of national or global politics. I don't have a whole lot to compare to. So this is very interesting to me when people start talking about how things have become more and more polarized, and that lack of people discuss and share about their concerns for the lack of civility on both sides, right? That's the other thing. And this is not a both sidesism kind of argument. There are literally people who on both sides or all sides of the aisle complain about the lack of civility, and it makes
it's hard when the issues get much more complex than ketchup, right? Than hot dog toppings.
Yes,
but if you, like I said earlier, if you have a group that's going, I have a right to be included in society, and the other group is saying, I don't want you anywhere near me. Right. Like my belief structure is such that you are offensive to me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact that society has gone, that's not cool. Maybe that's not great. And there's like this really big pushback of like, you can't censor me. You can't tell me what to do. Like,
right.
I was just telling you that maybe you should, you should like be more inclusive. No, you can, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's this huge pushback with like society and stuff is saying like, maybe this is not great. And the people that are like fervent believers in something like that get very distressed because they're on the other end now. Right? Like if forever you've been on the end where you are society's with you, right? You've been on the quote winning side, you know? And then all of a sudden it feels to you overnight that everyone has changed their mind. You get defensive. Right? That's
yeah. Well, and then there's the am I in the majority? If I'm not in the majority, am I still in power? Am I what do I have control over? What do I not have control over? It gets very does get muddy very, very quick. And it is So I mean I'm glad I'm not in charge of keeping civility amongst the the globe, because that
yes, right. Like there's just lots of examples of that. And then like you're also not allowed to like change your mind. Like if you were one way before and you change your mind and are a different way now, people will like make fun of you because you were the other way before. Like you're not allowed to change your mind, you know, which is also odd. Like if you do something, people are like, no, you can't do that because you did this before. We're not like a static system, right? We're not just going to sit here and be the same forever. We're doing something. We're trying to change things, right?
Yeah. And that change, that process takes time and takes some understanding of what, because that is scary to be part of in the midst of change, going, okay, well, what was my role? I think, kind of what you were saying there of like, well, I was quote unquote in power in the majority. Now what's my new role, or what does it look like for me now to be in this world as things are changing in around and for various reasons. And it's easy to get defensive or lash out and things. I think that where that term kind of, that imagery of clinging to power kind of comes in, and all the fallout that happens from that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's like it feels a little bit last gaspy for some of these things. I hope that's true. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'd like to hope that it's true. Like I like to hope that like some of these like just like really overtly like racist things are just like the dying breath, right? Like I would like to think that it's probably not true, but
you never know, unfortunately.
Yes, it's true.
Anyway, away from this,
all right. So away from that controversial topic to I have thoughts on the World Cup. Right? You ready? Now, not what you might be thinking. Okay. I'm not gonna I don't really have any
who knows
about that.
Who knows? World Cup. Okay, here we go. We're transitioning. What is happening?
I want to talk to those US soccer fans out there.
Ooh.
I want to talk to you for a minute. Okay, listen. I know maybe you're new to this. Maybe this is the first time you watched the World Cup.
First time.
I'm happy. This is exciting. Welcome. However, before the World Cup started, we just finished like the first knockout round, by the way. So it's been going on for a little bit now.
Yeah.
Before the World Cup started, I read all these things like U.S. predicted to go far in World Cup. How far can the U.S. men's national team go? All these like player biographies and stuff.
Yeah.
And all about the strengths of the U.S. soccer team.
Cool.
Guys, what are you doing? Now that you've had your dose of realism, now that you've watched the World Cup for the first time and watched the U.S. men just barely make it out of the group play, I was surprised, made it out of the group and then just get demolished by the Netherlands. Come on. Right? Guys, we have to talk about the severe, the United States has suffered for a very long time, right? Since at least 2010 from a lack of a striker, like a true number 9 player, right? So in soccer parlance, when we think about these things, like numbers, the jersey numbers are not just arbitrarily put out there, right? It's not like basketball. We're like, I want to be number 47. Okay,
sure.
Whatever. Right. They have a role to play in the system, right? Like a number 1 is the goalie. Okay. The number 2, right, has a job. The number 3 has a job, right? These are like your backs, right? Your wing backs and your center backs, right? They have a role to do. Yeah. Depending on your system, that role changes slightly, but there is a job, right? You have an attacking back and you have the wing backs that push forward. You have the midfield. You have usually a guy who's like a real defensive minded player. You have that midfielder that's like pushing and aggressive and overlapping runs with the wing backs and these kind of things, right? The number 9 role is the striker. Now, that's different from the forward, right? The number like 10s. It can be a forward, right? 7, 8, 9. Those are generally your forward roles, They're a lot of these guys that we watch play soccer, the ones that we think like, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. Your Ronaldos, your Messis, you're like, if you're a U.S. soccer fan, Christian Pulisic, right? Not a number 9. Okay. They're dynamic players. They can move the ball. Really interesting. They're forward players. They're fast, dynamic ball movement, really good shooting, but they're not striker. Right? And the U.S. has not had a striker. And a striker, a number 9 player, is a guy that is making runs into the box all the time, harassing the goalie, getting on the end of crosses, getting a pass with his back to the goal and holding up play and then laying it off for one of these other forwards to get the team moving forward, right? Big, usually traditionally pretty strong, big guy, tall, heads the ball in like crazy. If you're watching the World Cup right now, look at Olivier Giroud from France, right? That's your like traditional number 9 player, right? Somebody like Lewandowski from Poland, he's kind of that player too, even though he's number 10 on the national team. That's fine. He takes that role. Brazil, Richarlison, that dude, number 9 all day, right? Woo. Neymar, dynamic, exciting, not a striker, right? He's like a wing player, a forward, center forward, something like that. Not a striker. You need this person on your team because you cannot get enough chances at goal if you don't have somebody doing this, right? Even if in doing that role, they're not scoring all the goals, they are going to create more opportunities for everybody else.
Sure.
Right? That's their job. They're always going to be moving. Like if you watch France play or Brazil play, like there's always somebody running at the goal.
Yeah.
Like, even if there's like some just random whiff of a cross, the ball's getting flashed across the net, somebody is running at the goal to try to get a piece of that ball. And the US does not have that at all. Ever.
So,
Never.
is that a why is that? Is it a, I'll ask, is it a hard position to fill? I'm just trying to think of other like options for why that lacks. Is it because the leadership doesn't know what a striker should do?
No, I don't think
is
that's
a position
it.
just
We've
hard
had
to
like
fill?
really experienced coach. It's a really hard role to fill.
Okay.
Right. That is a very specialized role. Right. It's a tough role to fill because you got to have really good instincts for where to move. Because in soccer, it's like basketball kind of where like if that striker is moving somewhere, defenders are going to go with him. And so like if you watch France play, I just watched it the other day. That's why I'm talking about this so much. Because like France's big, like exciting player right now is Kylian Mbappe, but he's a wing. He plays outside, right? And he's so fast, and he's so talented, and he's so dynamic. He's a striker, right? He scores amazing goals, but he's not playing that I'm going to get in the goalie's face, I'm going to bully people role, right? He's a dynamic ball moving guy, which is fun to watch, right? Obviously, we like that. But you watch them play. When Giroud makes runs, people follow him, and now Mbappe has more space to move, right? Because they know I can't leave him alone at all. If he gets near that ball, it's going in. Right?
It keeps them on their toes, basically.
It keeps the defense
adds complexity to the strategy that the other team is having to do, knowing that there's a heavy striker or a good striker out there, knowing we can't risk. So what does that pulls their resources away, and they have to play a little bit more defensive constantly.
Exactly.
And they can't. Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of times you'll see these goals where like somebody, and in soccer you need to watch like off the ball. The movement that's happening will kind of clue you in, right? Because somebody has run somewhere, and now there's open space because the defense is torn between, do I stay here?
Sure.
Because now if you're playing France, if you put two guys on Mbappe, now somebody else is open somewhere, right? But you also can't really leave just one guy on him because he will beat them, right? He'll go around him. He's so fast, it's not even funny. So you really are stretching the defense, right? And so that's a hard one. And the U.S. does not have that dynamic play, right? Now, I will say this year, the U.S. was the second youngest team in the World Cup. This is good news, right?
Yeah.
Especially because last time we didn't even qualify because we were so trash. Okay. We had a bit of a gap, right? Nice. A lot of people retired, right? A lot of people just retired because they've been playing for so long, right?
Yeah.
There was a huge, really strong, and they all kind of were the same age, and they all kind of stopped playing at the same time.
Oh,
so there was a bit of a vacuum, right?
Makes it hard.
It does. Makes it real hard, right?
A bit.
Makes sense, right? It's totally, this is a normal thing, right? This is normal.
Yeah.
So like the fact that we're such a young team and we showed fairly good in the group play, right? And then we made it to the first knockout round. That's pretty good, right? Yeah, it's fine. But these people were like, can the U.S. men make it to the semifinals? No. No. What? No.
Who have you been talking to?
Right? Yeah, what have you been watching? Like what?
Right.
What are you looking at, man? Like, I understand if you watched them beat like some Copa teams or like some CONCACAF teams, right? Like, oh, they beat Haiti. Like, yeah, but have you seen, Argentina play? Have you seen Uruguay play? Yeah. Have you seen the Belgians play? That was a bad example. The Belgians were really bad this year, but like, have you seen some of these other teams at all? Like, That's not going to go well.
Yeah.
They don't match up.
Well, yeah, and that's one of those. That is a like you started off saying. I'm going. This is interesting. Like, welcome, hi, glad to have you here. Let me explain a little bit about the current state of affairs.
Yeah, and this year it's real weird too, right? Because it is in Qatar, and you can't have it in the summer because it's literally 12 billion degrees, and you will just all die of heat stroke. They're playing it in the winter, but soccer is a winter sport, right? And this is a thing that I think is lost on a lot of people, right? Like, because like English Premier League soccer is happening right now. So this World Cup is also weird because like the teams haven't really had a lot of time to practice together because it's in the middle of a season. Yeah. So like they had to break from the European season catalogs where like all these people are playing and like say, oh, time out. We're going to go play this tournament.
Hold up.
And they come back there. So they've all been playing at their club teams, like not with all these other people. That's why the first round looked real weird, right? Like, what? Like the first round of games, some of them were just like really bad. Like, what? Why? Oh, they've been playing together for like 2 weeks. Okay, this makes sense.
Oh no,
this is real bad. So it's at a strange time. Right?
Sure.
So that's a weird thing, but also, yeah, it's just. I'm glad we're enthusiastic. Right, U.S. fans are very enthusiastic. Right, U.S. soccer has a reputation for being very like never say die. Right, and that's kind of their rep. Right, like we're not giving up. We're going for it,
Gotcha. Yeah.
Which is good, right? It's a good quality to have. But if you don't have that guy that's up there just causing havoc and like getting goals out of nowhere, it's really hard to win a tournament. I mean, Spain got knocked out. They got beat. Morocco beat them on penalties just the other day because they don't really have a number 9 player, like they don't. They like Spanish style football is very like pass and possession heavy, right? But there's not always that person to give the final pass to, right? They've had trouble with that for a long time, having like that number 9 guy. So they won a World Cup before with basically no number 9, but it was dicey and they had to win a bunch of penalty shootouts to do it.
It was not easy.
Yeah, they didn't to make it easy on themselves, right? Like they won in 2010, but like they had Fernando Torres. Fernando Torres, if you're listening, I know you're totally listening. Big fan, by the way. Okay, big fan. I know not on good form in number. No, strikers are also notoriously streaky, right? They're a player that like they're either scoring like 0 goals or tens of goals, right? Like it's
gotcha.
it's kind of how it's just how the position seems to work, right? You're on and you're like really feeling it, or you're not. And you're just like a little slow and you're kind of missing and it's like a whole thing, right? So no, in 2010, Torres was going through like this period where he was kind of like in the lull part. And so he was there, though. He was there. He wasn't really, he didn't have a good as tournament as he probably should have, but he was still there in the games and still like, they still had to respect him, right? He would still be up there like slashing at goal. And so the defense still had to be like, I can't leave him open because that's not going to be good.
Yeah, we've at least got to keep our finger on him.
Yeah. So we don't have like that guy that can do that in that role. Like we have some people that are trying, right? But like if you watch the very final third of US possession, like the ball gets up there and Christian Pulisic gets on the ball and he tries to do something like really cool. And then like there's a defender in his face because there's nobody in the box. Nobody's running at the back post from where he is. Because if somebody was, he would have an outlet to go somewhere. Right?
Yeah.
when the defender is closing him down, if he just pops that ball over their head, now they're in trouble because there's a dude over there, right? Or he kicks, or he like passes the ball around them, or he even makes a shot on goal, just shoots it, knowing that there could be somebody up there to either hit the rebound or if it takes a deflection, get a piece of it, right? But there's not that guy running at the net. We don't have it. And yeah, it is a very skilled position. I think it's just because we don't have a person, right? It's hard
Is that
to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. What do
And
you
everybody's
think?
been watching Ronaldo and Messi for 15 years and they just want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be
Yeah. Right. Well, again, it's the some positions have more of the fame and glory associated with them, right? As opposed to others. And so I think that kind of does a disservice to those kind of skills when they see, oh, I want to play soccer. Well, what do they mean, right? They mean they want to go and be Messi, right? That's what they mean. They don't want to be a quote unquote background player or something like that who doesn't get the limelight. Which
yeah,
you know, it can draw
I mean, well,
interest.
that's the other problem, right? The striker is the guy that's scoring a lot of these goals, right? But it's not always pretty. It's like
Yes.
getting the last touch on the ball, taking the header from the cross, right? Something like real crazy.
Yeah. Well, so why oh man, I know that the U.S. soccer has been beleaguered for a while. Why? What could be done in your eyes to help elevate soccer to a more on par with other sports that Americans tend to seek after and admire?
I don't know. It's just one of those things like there isn't the short answer is there's not as much money being spent on soccer because it doesn't make as much money, right? People aren't shelling out to go watch the, Portland, whatever, Timbers. They are going to watch, like, they're paying like stupid amounts of money to go watch the Kansas City Chiefs play football or something like that, right? So there's just like not, the audience is definitely growing and it's definitely way less niche than it used to be, right? So it's just that like the pipeline of getting players interested at younger levels and then like playing in college or whatever and developing and then playing in like leagues. Because now, like before, like we had a pretty good team, but like, 10 years ago, most of those guys were playing in the MLS. That was it. Like they were not going to Europe, which is where like those teams are like the benchmark teams, right? English Premier League, the Serie A in Italy, the whatever the Spanish league is called, or the Bundesliga in Germany. Those are like the top tier, like the best players play there. And so now there's actually quite a few American people that play over there. So like that's been helping too, like because that like they're good enough to play there. The talent is developing, like they're getting better, they're doing all this stuff. So like, but that development from younger age, like getting people interested, doing that stuff, like being able to compete with some of these people in other, like in these big leagues, like literally big leagues, right? Like has been helpful, right? Because they've been getting better, right? There's a development thing, and it's been improving, right? But so it's not a fast process, obviously.
No, and you're right with the like little bit of exposure that making it this far the World Cup can do. That can only encourage more people to have more interest.
Oh, yeah, definitely,
and seek it out and start getting into that that development, those development programs, so that in another 5 years or however long, like we're that much further ahead.
Yeah. And so it's just, this is one of those things. Those big, slow building processes. And, and of course, right, it's always hindered by the fact that, like, bureaucratically like, oh, we didn't get these results, we need to change coaches, we need to do this different, blah blah, and you're not getting like, you're not always getting the time to like fully go through things, they don't always listen to so they're more like, we want results now, at least they used to be. And so they would like do all these crazy things like, guys, that's not helping, right? Like you can't just leave these dudes out of the field forever that have been playing for 20 years. Like you can't do like they have, we need new people, right? We got
yeah. What's the plan for that, right? I'm going, and that is hard. And I'm again, one of the many things I'm glad I'm not in charge of having that discussion with these star players, with big players, of how do you manage them going, okay, like we need to have that discussion of how much time you don't have with us anymore, right? And what that process, what those steps look like of finding their replacements, but then not just finding their replacements, but then getting them into the team, getting them trained, acquainted with everything, and then having the conversation with that former star, going, okay, your time is up, even though you might not want that.
Oh yeah, that's another whole deal. But like, so yes, that was just my small rant about over eager expectations for men's World Cup soccer. Why? Where have you been?
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but the U.S. is amazing at all things all of the time. So I don't.
Okay,
I don't understand what you're saying.
That is the perception by many.
Because it's reality.
Well, it's someone's reality. I don't.
Odd that you would phrase it like that. I don't understand. So.
It's like, yes, I'm sure that there's some people out there that think we could just like excel at cricket. It's not true. Okay, don't get these delusions. Don't be delusional.
Of suddenly just being good at stuff. Yeah, I had that discussion with Lillian today about she was personally feeling frustrated about not getting 100% on some of her homework assignments, and that the teacher had said maybe she just needs to slow down. That big word, it's a big thing. And there's some frustration about that, and I could tell there's some big emotions in there, and had that same discussion of, we're not like, this is why we're learning, this is why we're going through this process of we don't know everything, and that's okay, and we can try and get better, and we can work on it, and that's actually what we want to see, is the working and the focusing and the retooling to try and make progress. It's not about the grade at the end of the day. It's what did we do to change that once we learned about something. Like, oh, I'm not as good at this as I thought I was. Am I going to immediately throw in the towel, quit, and walk away? That's certainly one way to address some things. Or am I going to go, okay, what does that mean for me now? And what am I going to do? And how am I going to change about that? So we are having those continued conversations.
Yeah, it's a hard one for a lot of people. We talk about that in sixth grade as well, right? Like, I always I play it up like really over dramatically, and I'll be like, things I've actually heard from sixth graders, and then I like do this whole big spiel about like, this is so hard, I'm quitting, I'm never gonna do anything. Like, guys, what? I have this sign in my classroom that says dying is illegal. Now, this is because a couple years ago, my class was the most dramatic group of individuals you would ever hope to encounter in the sixth grade room. And they would always say things like, this is so hard, I'm going to die.
Oh my
And so I
gosh.
started telling them that's illegal. You cannot do that. It was mostly just like a quit crying and try. Like, don't just give up when it gets slightly difficult, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what they would do. They'd be like, it's so hard, man. I can't live anymore. Like, quit. So I do have a sign that says dying is illegal because they would say that all the time. Like, I'm just gonna die.
You have a lot of signs in your classroom. I'm learning.
You know, it's really important to have signs in your classroom. A lot of teachers have like useful signs. I have signs that say things like dying is illegal and be a winner, not a whiner. Words is hard, right? I needed one today saying I had to write on the board, don't eat the science. Because we we're doing that thing where we build the buildings out of the marshmallows and stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to make my sign reminder. Don't eat the science. It's not healthy. Okay. It's been in multiple people's hands. It's not. No.
Oh,
no,
just
gross.
save it. Just save it for later. It's fine. Toast it, heat treat it,
Oh, no.
kill the germs, and
No.
you'll be fine. That's what you should do.
I was telling them, I did tell them, like, I was like, when I handed them out the first time, I was like, all right, so don't eat the science. Number one, you won't have any building materials. Number two, a large portion of these have been on the floor. Everything's fine. Only one person was hurt, but it's not serious. They're okay. And they were like, what are you doing?
Wait, sorry, what?
I just spilled them when I was counting them. It's fine. But like, I just overplayed it because I wanted to see their faces because it's hilarious.
How did that bill go this year?
We'll find out tomorrow.
Nice.
It's varying states of bad currently.
Okay.
Like, I don't really know. It's weird, like the progress that happens. Like some years, like a bunch of kids do like really good. This year, it's like, yeah, I don't know. Our problem solving is not quite as up there as maybe it ought to be. Like, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how they. The marshmallows do like because they're sitting out overnight. They get like hard, they kind of start crusting over.
Yeah.
So that helps kind of with the rigidity of the structure.
Sure.
So some of the groups we talked about, like, you don't have to build your building standing up. Yeah. Right. Like, you can lay it on its side. And they were like, what? Like that kind of blew their minds. Like one of them, like their building, it just kept falling. And so I grabbed it and I turned it upside down and just held it there. And you could watch it sort of like accordion itself back out. And they're like, what are you doing? And I was like, fixing it. And they're like, I was like, here's what we're going to do. You are going to hold it like this. And then the other people are going to see where the weak spots are and fix it while you hold it upside down. And they're like, we can't build it upside down. I was like, why?
Why not?
Why not? And they're like, because we can build it upside down. I was like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay.
They were kind of looking at me like I was insane. It was like,
we'll survive.
We're gonna be all right, right? Just go with it. Just let it go.
Right.
And they were just like, I don't. What?
Yeah. Amazing what a different perspective can give you.
Yeah. Well, one of the kids was like, because she's like very artistic, right? I was like, when you draw, do you always draw with your paper right side up? And she was like, no. I was like, exactly. Like,
yes.
You don't always have to just look at this only from one perspective, right?
Right.
Sometimes if you need to draw a certain line, it's easier just to turn your paper. Same thing here, right? Some of the kids, they were like, I don't know how I'm going to look at this. Like it was having trouble staying up in like one spot, like, so just let it sit overnight. I was like, you can lay it down. And they were like, really? I was like, yeah, it's fine. Like, it'll help it stand up tomorrow if you lay it down now. They're like, oh, there was a lot of these like really like what moments today. So that was good, at least, right?
Yeah. Hey, you know what we call multi-purpose projects?
Yeah. Perspective, man.
Yeah.
Build your building upside down.
It's
Fine.
It's not about the building. There you go. That's your next book. Build it upside down. Build your building.
That is a good one. Okay. Get on that.
That would definitely that'd be a good talk for like a business conference, to be the well actually guy to come in.
It's true.
Build it upside down.
Sure, I'll help you write that speech if you want.
Thanks.
I'll co-present it with you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. actually do have to give a talk in March. It's coming up very soon. So
that's true.
Oh no, why is it so right around the corner?
Yeah.
Dang it. Megan and I are actually going to be co-presenting, and I'm not 100% sure how we're going to manage this.
It's because she loves talking.
And
wait,
because she loves it so much. Well, I don't want it to be like us tag teaming time behind a podium, because that's really boring.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like nobody wants that, to be like, hi, I will present for the first 7 minutes, and then I will step back and Megan will come in and keep talking for me.
Oh no, it needs to be much more dynamic than that.
Yes, it must be.
Like, so, bang, 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 back, forth.
Well,
like,
I'm envisioning more of us just like sitting down, like on some chairs, having a conversation, but like a scripted conversation between her and I about a particular topic, which is something that we do. Like, she and I talk about stuff all the time together. So trying to script out something to have it flow a little bit more so it sounds more natural and less presenty to the audience, much more conversational, because I can't just do a straight talk. So that's not in my repertoire. Exciting. It's not what I do. Like the last talk I gave, a guy in the audience came up and was like, really good performance. I don't know what to say.
Yes. Thank you.
I was like, yes, like it's exactly what I wanted you to say. I didn't want you to say good talk. Like,
would you rather me stand up here and read my slides to you? I hate that so much.
Well, I intentionally, I think it was really funny when they were like, the last talk, well, we need your slide deck, X number of weeks before presentation. And I was like, okay. And I sent it to him, and there was 11 slides, and they were just pictures.
Was it just pictures? Like,
it was. There was no words. Some of them made no sense. There was no sense to the photos at all, because
because they didn't have the context yet.
They didn't have the context of like, this photo is a main point in the text that I'm going to be getting to. But
is there anything more satisfying than like you're just presenting and then you say something and you just like click your little button and then boom, the next slide is the thing you were talking about? Like,
oh my gosh,
that's pretty great.
Right?
I like doing that.
It feels so good. I love doing that
in my science. That's why I do my science class all the time. I'm like, you might be wondering what all this is leading up to. Boom. And then there it is. There's our point right there. It's great. Yes. So good. It's very anticlimactic when I have checked my email and not clicked back into my presentation. And I'm like, click. Click. Dang it. Like, I gotta go.
Anyway, one moment, please.
Scurry back to my computer and click on it and like, aha. Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Because I split my monitor between my presenting screen and then my desktop monitor, right? It's split between there. So sometimes my mouse is on the wrong thing and it's just so anticlimactic. It's so upsetting.
Well, something as simple as like saying the phrase, and before I leave, I want to give you 5 things that you can start doing today. And when you say the word 5 things, you push a button and there's a picture of somebody holding up their 5 fingers. behind you.
Yeah. Boom.
Right.
Timing.
And that's
It's all
it.
about timing.
Yeah. There's no text, and it's just someone holding up 5 fingers out in front of their face, and you just keep talking, and it's like what's behind on the screen, you don't care. You just keep walking and you keep presenting. It's just that's an accessory to what's happening everywhere else. And it's though I like giving those kind of talks where the what's on behind the screen, and I've given the other kind of talks too. I've given the extremely heavy data talks. I've got to dissect what's on the screen behind us with this graph and figure. Those are perfectly fine.
It's good. That's what the laser pointer is good for.
Yeah, and I have I have a green laser pointer that can
red.
be I shine at stars to see at night, right? And that's what I bring in, and it blinds everybody. Like those kind of talks totally fine. There's a rhyme and reason for those, but to treat every presentation like, hey, I know this diagram is really confusing, so we're going to break it down over the next 15 minutes. Like nobody, that's oh my goodness, time and place for that.
Here's an idea. Make a better diagram.
The number of times,
right,
while going through graduate school, the phrase, this one's a little bit confusing, let me break it down for you. That almost every graduate student would say that phrase, or even visiting professors who are showing stuff, that was their phrase. And it was supposed, part of it is this, part of it is very, a look how smart I am with the kind of data that I deal with. Is that you don't even know half the things that I'm going to pull from this graph right now. Right? You think it's just dots. Just wait, right? Soon, 7 different things are going to be circled up here, and we're going to have some big takeaways. Like it's very part of it is very a peacocking.
That's true. Method. You're kind of sitting there going, like, weird flex, but okay.
Yes, it's pretty much what it is definitely a weird flex around graphs. It's just but
I mean, a lot of my graphs are probably confusing to the kids because they're in 6th grade and we're not really great at graph reading. So I like to say things like, all right, when you look at this graph, what do you see?
Yeah.
And we break it down that right. Go the other way around.
The other half.
What do my axes say? What is
the other half is
title.
Yeah, title. Let's really dive into this. Right, so we
talk about that all the time. Side note, but the joke works, man. The think like a scientist joke, it lands and it works. They get it right. They're like, okay, we need to think like a scientist. What would you call this? Like green stick, and they're like, green stick. Boom. Nailed it. Right? Like the joke really lands. Like, tell me exactly what this is. Right? We even talk about when we're naming presentations. Like we just did one about inventions, like Mesopotamian inventions. And they'd be like, what should I name it? I was like, I don't know. What should you name a presentation about Mesopotamian inventions? And they were like, Mesopotamian inventions. I was like, yep. Boom. That's it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
I just went through this process with Lillian. She was learning about the 8 different species of sea turtles and their names. And one of them was like, which is a thing that they do a lot, especially when they're learning about animals. They have a sheet with a big bubble and some blank spaces next to it. And you write the organism in the bubble, and then you write an interesting factoid about it right next to it. And then the kids go to class and they all share the facts that they've learned about them. And they were learning about the black sea turtle. And
yeah, exactly.
She was like, what color is it, Dad? And I was like, well,
what do you think?
Let's go to read. What do you think the color of the shell could be, the carapace could be, based on its name? And there was a pause, and she went, black? And I was like, actually, yes.
Actually, it is.
It's really, really dark. It's very, very dark. It just made me smile.
Yeah, I like doing things like that. Like, I can't remember what it was the other day, but it's always stuff like that. You're like, it's the one-horned rhino, so called because it has one horn. And they're like,
the flatback sea turtle. It was like well, there's a question. It was like, what's the shape of its back? And Lily was like, I don't know. And I was like, tell me.
I think you might.
Anyway, we're gonna go a lot slower. We're just gonna read back through this. This is important. This is an important clue to the rest of our lives of like looking at names and going, names have meanings, and I'm gonna run with this. So that was fun. But yeah, there's when people present the graphs, they try and make them more complex so that they sound super smart and important. And then there's the other half of like they're just really bad at making graphs because
the graph is just made wrong, and they
just take whatever the stats program spits out to them, and they don't think a second more about it. Of going, how can I make this less confusing? My
favorites are the ones that should be two graphs, right?
Oh yeah,
and they like have the weird thing, and then there's like a scatter plot on top of it, and you're like, what?
Yeah,
doesn't it? They have like two. It's the ones that have like the two y-axes, right? So their graph it's like a U shape, or there's like an axis on the left, and then another axis on the right. And then there's the X across the bottom, and so the graph is all wonky looking, and you're just like,
yeah.
Would it have killed you to make two graphs? Really? I mean, like, this overlay is just not good. Like, what are you
see that a lot with like they're trying to show the relationship of temperature and precipitation over time.
Yes.
Like
that's what I was thinking of. Actually,
that's a very common one, right? Where you're like, what? My favorite one.
I can put these two graphs side by side.
Just put them. No,
and I can still see the relationship.
We are conserving.
If I use the same scale, I could.
Yeah. Y-axes are very common. X-axes, they're endangered, actually. So we have to conserve them as much as possible.
Yeah, there's so many.
My favorite one was when they would do the scatter plot and they would do multi-factor analysis, but they would leave. So when you generate that, you get all these little arrows that show the strength of the relationship for the Y variables. Pulling it right.
Yeah.
But they would they'll just
awful.
leave.
They look like they start looking like a wind shear chart from like a weather stations.
Yeah.
Right. That's what they look like with all these arrows like everywhere. It looks like I should be able to map pressure lines on it. Like it's what
my favorite is whenever they would throw 100 different variables at it and see if they could find a relationship. And then what they would do is they would just leave all 100 variables on it, but only focus on the two that were actually statistically significant. And you end up with every question that would follow from that is, well, what about, or can you really, like, there are so many questions. And it was like, just get rid of everything that didn't fit the model and show that, and then show what it looked like with the full model. And then with the significant model.
Even better, they're also mathematical formulas that you can plug this data into, and it will give you a number like plus or minus something.
Oh, sure.
That will just tell you how correlated the two things are. And you don't need a graph.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to be just like throwing darts at a wall, all you really need to do is run this equation multiple times. It's like these correlation coefficient equations, right?
Yeah.
And you can mathematically determine if they're related. And then if they're not, leave them off your graph. Just done. Yeah. Like you don't. And you don't even have to, like, the by hand equation is not long. I mean, it's tedious, but it's annoying. But you can just feed it into a computer and it will go 0.2. Oh, they're very related. Okay, keeping that variable. Next.
And what you do, I mean, my advisor would always say, like, determine, is this a graph? Is this a figure? Is this a table?
Some of them should be tables.
Most of the the coefficient,
a lot
stuff,
of them should be tables.
That's a table. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, and that's definitely where I would just find myself asking that question of like, what is the purpose of me trying? What am I trying to tell? What story am I trying to tell with this? going, oh, I'm just trying to do a big data dump to show, hey, and here's everything. That's a table, right? That's just a table.
Table.
Like,
Yeah.
no
and just
graph.
because all tables can be graphs doesn't mean they should.
Yes.
Right. Doesn't mean...
yeah. Tables, foundation of graph. Absolutely understand. Sometimes we don't need to make that next step, and we don't need to try. Yeah, I love the like see table 4.9, and it's just a dump of all the variables and everything there.
Your table can be as big as you want.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's much easier to highlight tables. Right. You can just go in and go, ooh, look at this row. You know.
And it's great for the people who go, okay, did you actually account for X? Okay,
Yes,
I go to your table and I can see your list of everything. And then I can like it really helps for the review of information, and so that it's not a disgusting graph with like 5 different keys and different stuff up there. It's just
and you can have that big like table, like the big ones, like you can just put those at the end.
Yeah.
Right. And you can, like you said, you can just reference it. You don't have to like make it front and center. The graphs that you want, then you put them in your thing. Go. And then you can be like, if you're interested, see a table attached for whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the relevant data is here. Boom. This is what I want to focus on. This one graph. Only at a time.
So that asking those questions whenever you have data or information to present, I think of just taking that step and going, how does this need to be shown? And then there's always an option of it doesn't need to be shown. Sometimes this is just verbal. Sometimes this is just written. And maybe if it's super important, I reinforce it with a visual display. But that really, to me, changes how you give a talk, how you give a presentation. Whenever you think about how is this information going to be, does it need to be conveyed to this particular audience, given the context of, I think of like the talk that Megan and I are supposed to be giving. It's the last talk of the day. Okay, it's at 5 o'clock at night. It goes 5 to 6.
The main performance.
Yes. Like this is we are the one thing. Like I hate giving the talk that's
you're
like
being you're the thing between them and dinner. Oh no.
Yes, that's you never want to be the thing between somebody and food. Like that is the last thing you
think
want.
of it this way, Colin. You're the headlining act. Right. The main act goes on last. Right.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin's not opening for anybody.
except these people have been we've had openers since 9 a.m.
It's like a festival.
It is a festival.
It's like a festival.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a world tour, right?
It's
like
a festival.
So like, they're staying to see the big band go on at the end. That's you. No pressure. But you are.
Oh, it's fine.
Who did I see last? The Dropkick Murphys of the festival.
You know what?
I only said that because I saw them at Warped Tour one year and they were the last band to go on. I was just thinking through my head of like, who else was there?
No idea. So, that's a really good point of maybe we should, 5 to 6. We're the last day on it's the last time on the, and it's the, so oh gosh. It's we're the last speakers on the second day. And
the headline.
Yeah.
Man.
And the next day just has like 2 speakers.
Like Hendrix at Woodstock. This is what
so I'm really, and that's the other thing of thinking about like, okay, I'm intentionally now putting together my talk given what information that they've probably seen. Right in previous,
true,
making sure I don't duplicate, or maybe I point out information. But but it's hard.
Is it one of those things where everybody goes to every talk, or is it like an open format?
Okay. No, it's everybody goes to every talk. That's the other thing that is very weird for me. Of I'm used to going to conferences where it is definitely multi-track of like at 9 o'clock you can choose
These, like,
7
4
different things. But no, this is everybody's in the same room.
That's rough.
So I know what other people have seen because there are only so many options.
That's true, yeah. Because I've also seen them all. So
exactly. So then I'm going, I know, like, we're going to put together this talk, we're going to have it down and blah, blah. And then as I'm listening to people, it's like, well, I got to change that. Like that's just how I do. And so, anyway, we're trying to make sure that this is engaging and not a just boring talk, because that's not what I want. Like it would be gross.
True. Very true.
So right now we have the plan is this is the plan. So the title is and this is the other thing is that we were given this title.
Oh, what?
they said,
how horrid is that?
I mean, I will say we were very, very thankful. They reached out to us and they invited us. We did not apply. They said, hey, we would like for you to come and speak on this topic.
You can't even like change the title a little bit. Like,
well,
no creative license.
The title is Life as a Pet Sitter or Life of a Pet Sitter, which is kind of like okay, like it's very generic. So what we're going to do is
here's your opening line. Don't worry, I don't actually sit on your pets.
Well, no, because this is to other pet sitters. So it's a pet sitter conference.
Oh, okay.
Which also makes this hard because they're pet sitters, so like they know what the life of a pet sitter is like. Right? They're not. But what I'm going to do is, because Megan and I were like, what do we bring to this? And I said, aha, here's what makes us different. We don't have to bring anything of our own. I have interviewed
7,000 people.
So all I'm going to do is we're going to have 5 points, each that starts with a P because we're pet sitters, and it's going to be it's going to be the takeaway from an interview that we did, like a one-word summary that person either exemplified or struggled through or was trying to learn themselves, and we can pull that, talk about that, their lessons, our share some of our own takes on it, and then go on to the next thing, but have a conversation about lessons that we've learned from others in kind of that little context and structure.
So okay, this makes some sense, I guess.
Okay.
It's not the day in your life, it's an amalgamation.
Yes, exactly. That's the key of we only have so many experiences. Like it's so we're kind of going like, what do we talk about? Well, let's pull from lives of other sitters that we've had connection with and done interviews with and have learned from. And let me see if I can pull up the text that I have. Well, right now I just have 3, but it's the pitfalls, the passion, and people in the life of a pet sitter.
Is one of them what could be other P's for pet sitting? Oh, I guess just P.
Yeah.
Right? That could be one.
Sure.
You could
but I think I'm just writing this kind of like, okay, we're going to talk about what?
Pitfalls.
I do have pitfalls, passion, and people. So basically under each one of those, pit bulls, passion, people, pitfalls. Pomeranians. Oh, so now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to abstract this one more level, and I'm going to talk about pit bulls for pitfalls. I'm going to talk about Pomeranians and people, and I'm going to talk about passion and
pugs.
See what I've done now?
Yeah.
See what we've done?
Other dog breeds start with poolies. Right? Poolies. That's poodles. This is great. This is wonderful.
So,
Pembroke
that's what
corgis. Yeah.
Corgis, porgies, yeah, porgies. Okay. So that's what I have
Pointers?
to do. It's pointers. Yeah,
Sorry.
there's lots. We're
Getting
good.
too enthusiastic about this.
We're done. Yeah. see, that's what I do is I sit here and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now I have to make this work and find these connections and then present it. And so obviously when we're talking about, different topics, there's going to be different photos of dogs up on the screen that exemplify what we're talking about, plus the person who we are learning from.
True.
To kind of have that discussion of, because I thought about it in that context of like, I sit with Megan all the time and I go, who was that person who we interviewed about the thing and they live in New York? And she'll be like, oh, that was Sam. And I'm like, yeah, she was really good about this kind of thing and blah, 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 blah. So that's what I'm saying, like trying to pull a little bit of that aspect into it of our conversations and how we talk about and reflect on things that we are learning and seeing happening.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
So we'll see. I don't know.
Also, if you Google dog breeds that start with P, there's like 20. So you can just throw those in your list too.
Well, I'm just going to
Pyrenean Shepherd.
Oh.
Right. Plot Hound. Portuguese Water Dog. Boom. Look at this.
Portuguese, the Papillon.
Papillon, of course.
Oh.
Pekingese. How did I forget a Pekingese? I'm sorry, Pekingese. I did not mean to do that.
Okay, well,
and everyone's favorite.
Write these down. But now I'm just going to include
Griffon Vendéen, of
I'm
course.
just going to include a link to that article.
Yeah.
A piebald doctor.
Aw. I didn't start thinking about party cavaliers.
Yeah. Polish Tatra sheepdog. Pomchi. Okay, well, anyway, we could read a list. The Oh Brother special, reading internet lists on a podcast.
That is true. It's what we're known for.
It is.
Apparently, people in Bangladesh just love it. So,
oh my gosh.
Shout out Bangladesh. What's up?
It's very important. So, so working on that. We'll see where that leads. We'll do some more learning about soccer. Oh my gosh, I want to talk to you about the Open CGP AI chat. We'll cover all that next time.
Okay. I have no idea what that is. So now
it's good. It's good.
Do I need to do some homework on that, or is it like
actually terrifying?
Oh,
but it's fine. Take a quick takeaway based on this chat bot is ChatGPT. I said it wrong the first time. Anyway, you sign up for a free account. You ask it any question. It's an AI, so it pulls from all of the internet knowledge as of 2021 is the data set that this is working with. They have now had since 2 more releases, and this is the third generation is going to be coming out soon. It's supposed to be just absolutely insane. Ask this any question, ask it all those writing prompts that you would get in high school that were like compare and contrast to the blah, 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 blah. Type that into this. It will give you an answer. Written in a very it's all, you cannot tell that this was not written by a human. You cannot. What's important though is that this is a predictive text AI. So it is not actually assimilating, learning, and then spitting it back out. It is looking at the information and then basically summarizing and paraphrasing based off what it expects to see in relationship to certain topics and spitting that out. So it gets things hilariously wrong at times.
It has potential to break enormously.
But it is fascinating to play with. Yeah. So you can add. Sorry, I'm hitting all sorts of stuff now. So this is something you should definitely play around with.
Okay, I will try to remember to do that before next time. We'll
chat
go from there.
Chat GPT. It's the same. It's made by the same people who are making the DALL-E 2 image AI.
Yeah.
So they're basing, except this is text based. So it's it's just it's a chat, so you can ask a question and give a response, and it just goes back and forth. It's not actually learning from you, and it's not trying to interact with you like some of those other creepy AIs. This is purely I give an input and it spits something back at me. So it's a lot of fun. So anyway, that's all.
Very odd. All right.
Double plus good. There you go. There's our dystopian future ahead of us. Be nice to your AI. Be nice to your AI overlords, please. Skynet wouldn't be nearly as cranky if we would have said please to Alexa.
Oh, yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Surely.
All I'm saying. Anyway, well, we'll wrap it up there, and we'll see what happens next time.
All right.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.